Hurricane season always brings a certain level of stress when it comes to dealing with potential aftermath of storms. It's important to know how to protect yourself from predatory scams and ripoffs that can occur after storms have damaged property. With us today, I have Daniel Ty, managing partner at Ty PA. Thank you so much for joining us so that we can make sure that we go into storm season fully prepared, Dan.
Thanks, Jana. It's wonderful to be here and happy to share some solid advice that's actionable with your viewers.
Well, I'm really glad to talk to you because I've known you for many years, and I know that you have firsthand experience of seeing the effects that storm damage have on families and their finances. So I'd love to start off with what Florida families should do and have in place before a storm strikes. What can we do to be most prepared on the front end?
So this is one of my favorite topics, and I have three simple, actionable pieces of advice for anyone in Florida or anywhere that may suffer a hurricane in order to prepare for this, obviously very timely now that we're in hurricane season. The first piece of advice is take out your cell phone. And in this day and age, almost everyone's got one of these nice cell phones with a video feature. We want to take that camera out on our phone. We want to walk around the outside of our property, nice casual pace, nothing crazy. And likewise, go through every room of the house, even the closets. And you want to document the condition of your home prior to any storm damage. That's going to be our before set of photos and video if we do unfortunately suffer a loss. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is regarding preparing your home during storm season. My advice is if you have landscaping, whether you do your own landscaping, you have someone help you with landscaping, get a little bit proactive in this time of year. It's the summer season, so everything's lush and growing. That's what we love about Florida. But at the same time, when we have these big windstorms and hurricanes, that kind of lush and maybe even overgrown, beautiful landscape can become devastating in terms of creating damage to the home in the form of trees falling or branches or debris striking your home and your property. So what we want to do is we want to trim that back, give it a nice summer cut. And what that's going to do is prevent you from being in a position of having some of this, maybe older growth and overgrown stuff becoming debris in the case of a storm. Now, it's important to be proactive because these hurricanes, we don't really know their paths until just a few days before they impact us. So if you wait till the last minute, it might be too late to get those trimmings and all that hard work that you did. It might be too late for our friends at the sanitation department to pick it up. So then it might be in the street when that hurricane hits. So what I'm gonna ask you to do is be really proactive, give your home and your landscape a nice summer trim, and also to tighten up around the home. If you got, squeaky screen fixings and the fence isn't really attached to the home, get that taken care of now. A stitch in time saves nine, like our friend Benjamin Franklin says. And our third and final important piece of smart, easy, actionable advice is let's go ahead and review your insurance policies. So if you've got a mortgage, which many homeowners in Florida do, you're likely going to have the right type of coverage, an HO3 policy that's going to cover you pretty broadly. But what we do want to look at is the specifics of our hurricane deductible. In Florida, insurers have to offer you a deductible of $500, 2%, 5%, or 10% of your home's insured value. So what that means is, although you may have insurance coverage for your loss, you still may be facing a significant out-of-pocket expense if, unfortunately, you are impacted by that storm and you suffer property damage. So those are my top three easy, smart, actionable tips for our homeowners out there.
We love it. Action items really give us empowerment so that we can feel like we're going into storm season as prepared as we can. Obviously, it's nature. It's going to do what it's going to do. So in the case that we do have storm damage, let's say that's water damage, let's say it's roof damage, let's say that our home really does suffer from a storm. what can we do afterwards? What should we be aware of? I know that in Florida, we have so many people who come out sometimes with the best of intentions, some without the best of intentions, to go and, let's say, deal with water remediation or deal with that storm damage. Often people find themselves in agreements with companies that don't have their best interest at heart. So what should people be aware of if they suffer storm damage in the aftermath?
So I'll start with what to do if you do suffer damage more generally, and then I'll get to that specific question because that's a great question. So the first thing you want to do, obviously, is make sure that everyone in your household and your neighbors or anyone else around is safe. Obviously, safety first. When you have these storms, you may have flood conditions, you might have down power lines, you've got debris all over the place. So the first thing is we want to move slow and deliberate and make sure everyone's safe. The second thing we want to do is kind of tagging in on the first step of your pre-storm preparation. The second thing we want to do is do that same documentation. In step one of our pre-storm preparations, we've created a before picture. Now what we want to do after that storm hits is create that after picture so that we have the evidence to make the strongest claim under your insurance policy as possible. So remembering safety first. Secondly, document the damage in the condition it's in. You don't need to clean up yet. Make sure you document first. The third step is going to be to mitigate your damage. So just, tighten up, maybe clean up a little bit, organize the things that are damaged. Don't throw them away, but organize them. And make sure, let's say if you have a roof leak, you do need to make sure that you're mitigating that damage and you're making sure that you're not letting that damage get worse. So with those steps in mind, that's where it comes in, where you may have people who come out to help you with the mitigation of damage. So a friendly local roofing contractor can help you with tarping and that sort of situation. Specifically to your point is, after these storms, you do get a tremendous amount of people who come down to help. Many of these people, as you said, have good hearts and, are entrepreneurial people, want to come down and help people in their time of need. And there's nothing wrong with that. Frankly, we do need people to move resources from other places into our local markets after we've suffered a tremendous amount of damage. We need these people. But what you want to make sure is that you're working with those right people and that you're reviewing the contracts and the offers that they're making for you. So specific to that, we want to make sure if anyone offers you something and it sounds too good to be true, let's slow down. Let's make sure we read those contracts, reach out to someone that you do trust, whether it's a trusted advisor, your local contractor that you maybe worked with before these storms. Certainly our office or a local property damage attorney should be very willing. We are, and the local guys should be very willing to help. But leading into that too is you may want to, at this point before the storm, establish a relationship with some good local contractors in case you do have a need for it down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are really great pieces of feedback because in that time of disaster, your head is spinning. There's so many things to do. Obviously, you're worried about everyone's safety, but then you're dealing with so much. And oftentimes that can feel very overwhelming. So when you have gone into these situations, because I know that you have been literally boots on the ground for so many of these storms, how do you tell people to support their emotions and kind of that mental stability that can sometimes be shaken after a true disaster like this? How can we take care of ourselves emotionally and mentally and really navigate this with a clear head, even if something bad happens?
So the emotional element is a big part of this. And I think it's pretty well known that people don't make the best decisions when they're in a purely emotional mindset. So the first thing to realize is once that storm passes through, we're going to make sure everyone's safe and okay. That's the first thing. And if you take the right precautions and preparations, hopefully you can weather the storm without too much, being put out too much, or not having the right preparations, food and water supplies, and that sort of stuff. If you have that, that's going to help give you peace of mind. And of course, we'll share with your viewers some resources that we've put together in our experience of how to prepare the right way with more detail than we're going in today, obviously, for those who want to follow up and really be very proactive. But that would be the first thing, is if you're set up the right way and you kind of, you have some expectations in place and you are proactive in making sure that you're in the best position you can be, that's going to help alleviate some of that emotional stress. The next thing I would do is try to take a deep breath and relax. As long as there's not more storm coming, there's nothing that you're going to be able to do so urgently to change anything or to fix anything due to the laws of supply and demand. It's not like you can just call a roofer and he comes out the next day and everything's fine, because everyone in town is likely suffering similar damages. So it's important to be realistic about the pace in which you can act. And again, not fall into some of these pitfalls where someone maybe knocks on your door and you don't have a chance to really vet them and see if they're licensed, are local and going to do the right thing. So that would be how I would stress the importance of handling the emotional side of this.
Thank you, Dan. So many different elements. Obviously, the most important thing is just making sure that everyone is safe. So I love that you brought that up, because it really is our top priority. And I love the fact that you're looking local to make sure that you have those relationships established beforehand. So in a time of need, we can connect with somebody like you right here in Florida, right here in our backyard to help. It's always good to have neighbors with great know-how just like you. Where can we stay connected with you and take advantage of some of these free resources? I know you have a roof leak guide. I know you have navigating your insurance claims. You're very generous with those resources. How can we stay connected?
So the easiest way to access the resource library that we've created over the years is at typa.com/resources. And of course, we'll provide the links to your team there, Jana. And also, we're very active on social media. We're giving proactive storm updates. We're sharing these tips for storm preparation. And then we're also sharing some of the experiences we've had after you have that damage, dealing with insurers, dealing with roofers, dealing with other contractors. So it's a great follow if you live in Florida.
Great. Dan, thank you so much. And thank you for being such an advocate for our viewers here at River City Live and sharing your morning with us. I appreciate you.
It's an absolute pleasure to help, and we're big fans of the show.
Thank you, Dan. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for River City Plus and River City Live. We'll be back tomorrow morning with a lot more.